Hi, my name's Chris and I'm just going to show you how I reupholstered my seats out of my Bailey Milan 2011 Caravan. This is the original seating material. Basically what I've done is I've taken it apart so that you've got your basic pattern, and then what I'm going to do is show you in stages how I reassemble it by cutting it out of the material that I've bought. So step by step I'll show you in pictures, and then you'll be able to see, and if you want to follow you can. Okay, thank you. As you can see, I've taken the cushion cover apart and I've laid it out. So basically this is the front piece, that piece going off is the piping, that piece there is the top, then you've got two sides, then you've got the back panel there, and then underneath you've got two pieces for your zips. Now what I do now is I measure each one out. I've written it down, as you can see here. This is the corner back, and I've written each piece, the name of each piece down, and I measure them. Now when I come to measure, I measure the width, that's 18, and we're doing the top, so the width is 18 and the length, taking it to the very edge, is 55. The length is 55, and I do that with each piece. Right, I'm doing the corner backs. What I've done is I've folded this off piece cut of material over so that I'm going to use one of the patterns, but I'll get lots of patterns out of it, so I'll be able to make two cushions. It saves you measuring it out twice, and that's what I'm doing. I've cut that bit, obviously I've got that bit to cut, and then I'll cut each individual pattern out. Each time I cut it out, I write on the back which part of the pattern that is, so I know when I come to start putting it all together. So now I'm just going to cut each part out now. Right, this is my pattern now, all cut out and ready to be sewn. But before I sew it up, I'd just like to show you, when I've taken all the material apart, I've used some of the stuff like the piping. I've unpicked all that and took the piping out, and I've used the original zips because otherwise it gets too costly. Also, just a note, at the front and the tops of your cushions is like a padding. So I went to the market and I bought a little bit of padding and cut those out as well. And then the back of the cushions, it's not the same material, upholstery cushion, it's a thinner material. So what I've used is an old throw from Wilkinson's, and I've cut that out that'll fit on. And just to let you know, I've got our little dog Millie underneath, what our caravan's named after, Millie Ann, after the Pegasus Bailey Milan. She's on the ready to go, she won't leave us alone. She's getting on for 17 now, bless her. Okay, the next stage is, if you look down on the cushion itself, there's a line going down the centre and at the top of it as well. So I've marked those out, as you can see. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the fabric on top of the padding, and I'm going to run down a stitch down the centre of that, and then down the centre of that. Okay, so now I'll change the stitching to like a zigzag one. I call it, it's like an overlock one, but it's a zigzag basically. So that'll give me a bit of a zigzag, and now what I do is I go all around the edges, just securing them and holding the padding in place. Right, I've taken, this is the foot I've been using, and I've taken that off, and I'm using what's called a zipping foot or a piping foot, and basically it gets closer to the rope, makes it look a lot neater. So you put it in, put your foot down. I always do a little bit of a back stitch, holds everything in place, stops the stitching undoing, and it's just basically a bit fiddly but makes a neat job. So put your rope in the middle, or your piping, close the edges, making sure edges are together, and then all the way along. The next thing you do is attach the piping to the front face. So get your edges together, the top and the edge here, and again. Right, once the piping is fitted, you're going to fit the top part of your cushion over the top part of the piping, so that when it's sewn it looks nice and neat. So I'll sew this on and then I'll show you how it looks. As you can see, the piping's now in place and the lines match each other. It's all nice and neat. So that'll be the front and that'll be the top of the cushion, like that. The zip's now in place, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a nice edging stitch along the zip. So again, open the zip up a little bit. At the edge of material next to the teeth of the zip. I'll start again, I've done it the wrong way around. Like that. So this time you want your needle away from the teeth, not next to it like I was just showing you. Back stitch, and then I'm going to sew all along and I'll show you the final product in a minute. Right, that's the piping now finished. We'll move that to one side. Now, when you come to do your zip, make sure you've got the right side of your material against the right side of the zip. And normally overhang it a little bit, but keeping the edges together. Again, little back stitch, and then keeping the edges together. Come down a little bit, lift your foot, and then get your zip just past there. Don't go too far because you don't want the zip to come off the edge. I didn't go quite long enough. Okay, just going, making sure the edge, and you stay close to the zip. There's a back stitch at the end. I always cut cottons off. It just makes the final thing neat, and then you're not going to get any bits of cotton showing through on the right side. Again, when you come to do the other one, go a little bit up. You come to do the other one. What you need to do now is you need to make sure that the edges are together when you come to sew this bit on. Sorry, wrong way up. So, get your edges and material together. Open your zip slightly so that a bit fiddly. Once you're on your way, it's good. Right next to your zip, bit of a back stitch, So a little bit further down. Lift your foot up, close your zip, but again don't go too far close to the edge, otherwise the edge of your zip will come off, and you don't want that because it's a nuisance to get back on. Okay, right, as you can see, there's the front. I put the piping in, there's the top of the cushion, and that is the back. So what I've done now is I've attached the zip to the two side pieces of the cushion like that, and that is now going to be fitted and sewn into there, and I'll show you the end bit in a minute. Right, this is the back cushion. This is the one I've just made. Obviously the chalk will come off and it'll just leave the line. The same principle applies to whether it's these smaller cushions to whether it's the bigger ones. You still put them together the same way. What we've got to do now is we've had the buttons covered in the same grey, and we'll be fitting them into the actual seated cushions. Once they're done, I'll show you the final product and how they all look together, and then I'll show you them in the van. Right, I've finished all the cushion covers now. I've just got one dinette seat cushion to do. Then I'm going to turn my attention to the bolster cushions. For this, I've got a contrasting fabric, and I'm going to use that with the old fabric. So basically I'm going to use the facings of the bolster cushion in the new fabric, and then the top that goes around the bolster cushion I'm going to use in the old fabric, just to try and tie everything in. I'm also going to do some piping at the top of the bolster cushion, which I'll show you later on. Then when I've done all that, I'm going to turn back my attention to the seats, and I'm going to put the buttons in using a Tufting needle. So hopefully I'll be able to show you that later on as well. Hi, right, we're up to the exciting bit of buttoning, but before we do, I'm just going to show you the bolster cushions that I've now finished. I used the same material that I used on the seating, on the sides and over the top, and I used a contrasting material at the front and the piping going round both of the edges there. So now we're going to turn our attention to the buttoning. As you can see, I've already done a few of the buttons. I've left the string or the twine there so that we can alter the tension if need be at the very end. This is the seat that I've buttoned. I'm now going to move on to the backs. The backs weren't originally buttoned, but I've decided to put the buttons on them because it does stop the fabric from actually moving when you're using it as a bed. These are the tools that I'm using to do the buttoning. This is the backing button, which I just got from the market. These ones, the facing buttons, I had made up by an upholsterer. This is the Tufting needle that pulls the button through. This is a hole punch. Now this is just something I'm using because the Tufting needle that they've sold us is not really that sharp, so I just needed something to get through the fabric. This is the twine that we pull the buttons through, and we've measured that roughly 60 centimetres. I've marked out the middle of each of my lines, and I'm now going to, first of all, just again away from the stitching so that I don't punch a hole in it. Put the hole in, then put the Tufting needle in, or if you've got a proper Tufting needle, it should work. It's a bit of a fiddle, but eventually goes through. There we go. Once it's through, get your twine, thread the backing button onto the twine, making sure that both sides of the twine are the same length. Turn the cushion over, put the twine through only a little bit, closing the needle over and then pulling it through to the other side. Once you've done that, what you're going to do is you're going to tie a slip knot. Just making sure that pulling one side so that it's longer than the other. Thread your facing button onto the twine. Now making a slip knot. So it's over the top and through. Then bring in the smaller piece of the twine through that and pulling it. Now you're going to pull the shorter one to get the tension into the button, to the desired tension that you want. Hi everyone, well, we're in the storage yard and I've put my cushions in the caravan now, so I'd just like to show you the final finishing touches that I've made. I've made the cushions in the contrasting material as well. This is the front. And then this is the dinette area. The back panel in there is the bunk part, which I've done in the contrasting material as well to bring everything in. There's a slight little purple in it to bring the curtains in. Don't know if you can get that on camera or what, but I am quite pleased with the finishing. Just can't wait to get away now. A few more little things I need to do, which my husband won't be very happy with, but there you go. Bye.